Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2,
2,
3,
3
to
to
Batman.
Na 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 na.
Oof.
One of the funniest little animal vines I've seen is a pug who says Batman, just like the old. For some reason, this pug goes Batman every single time.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Anyway, sorry.
Oh my god, that's funny. I think my favorite one might be the one where the little kid is running and then his mom's like, "What do you have?" And he's like, "A knife!"
And they're like, "No!"
It's just like such. Oh, I like that one. That's a good one. That's sort of like my energy.
Yes, it is. Like we were talking about in our pre-production episode.
Yeah, in our pre-production, we were swapping some childhood stories, and suffice it to say, I was a boundary pusher and got in hot water frequently.
I love you for that. Yes.
So how are you?
Wait, you got to say who you are.
Oh, right. I forgot about that whole thing. So, hello, everyone.
Episode.
This is going to be good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the White Tower. I'm Jess, your Amerlin seat.
And I'm Jen, your keeper of the chronicles.
And now, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I've had a pretty good weekend. I've taken some time off for some kind of personal things, but
taking a couple mental health days. There's nothing wrong with that.
I've taken a couple mental health days, and the Discord, it's cool because I've noticed that that's been a pretty hot topic, and I like everybody's. One of the things I like about our Discord is that people from different countries and different regions of the U.S. even can get together, and they talk about like their locally what's taboo, and also the flip side of that, what is kind of accepted as far as child rearing, counseling, mental health days, that sort of thing in their school. Because I think what kicked it off was there was a new thing where high school students petitioned their school to have mental health days for high school students, and they won or something like that. So that was a whole thing in the Discord, I've realized.
Yeah, and I'm given to understand, I haven't read anything about it yet, but I'm given to understand is that there has been some pushback about it, that, oh, it's just the teenagers being lazy. And you want to know what? It's not the teenagers being lazy. Sometimes, why is being a teenager being any different than an adult?
It's not.
School is your job, and school's hard.
Yeah.
There's social pressures, there's academic pressures. It can be really taxing. And, it's if you're struggling or if you're taking a large class load or something like that, sometimes you just need a break. There's nothing wrong with that.
You're an accelerated.
And it's not a sick day. You're not sick. You just need a day where you don't have to think about anything. Everybody needs days like that. Why is it different if you're 16 or if you're, 60? It doesn't matter.
You're right. And sometimes teenagers will not only have their accelerated learning, but they've got these emotions and hormones going on. Plus, they're doing part-time jobs. So they're working, like, if you think about going to school and homework and then maybe working a part-time job for like 4 or 5 hours, sometimes they're working like 10-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do that 5 days a week, if you're an adult that works 10-hour days, 5 days a week, guess what? You'd be a little bit tired. You're
going to be fucking tired. Well, and, I mean, I did most 2 jobs for a while before I got my current job.
Yeah.
I was working at a blood center and I was working at Starbucks. Mm-hmm. And, I was only doing 3 days a week doing both. So I would do 2 days during the week, like after work, and then, like a Sunday. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I did it. I had a 2-hour round trip commute too.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I didn't die. I could never do that again.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably could. A person does what they have to do when they have to do it. But
you're still growing, like physically,
I was
mentally,
exhausted
emotionally.
When I was a teenager. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe your family life. Because I read this article about teenagers, and I've never thought about teenagers the same since. Guys, this blew my fucking mind. This one article. Here's the gist of it, okay? The article's like, everyone focuses in a teenager's home life on the teenager, but what they're not, and their age, like what they're suffering through for their age group, right? For everything teenagers go through. What they're not focusing on is, mostly speaking, not all the time, but generally, because a teenager has to be a certain age, the parent is also going through kind of like a midlife crisis, or they are also going through emotional, hormonal, not growing necessarily, but different bodily things at the same time that a teenager is, just on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Well, you
So
want to
it's
know what
not
that
like they're a
actually.
young parent around like a toddler that's still in their early 20s. They're like emotionally frustrated and angrily frustrated at their teenager, and they're in the 45 midlife crisis period. And that absolutely throws a dynamic into the household relationship, but nobody focuses on that.
You
And
want
I'm
to
like,
know what that's
oh,
actually.
shit.
That is a really, really interesting observation. And
Yeah.
the other thing that I'm interested to see is people in our generation are having children much, much older.
Mhm.
Like a decade or more after our parents had children.
Mhm.
My mother was just shy of her 24th birthday when I was born.
Mhm.
I ain't
That's
had no
young.
babies and I'm 40.
Yeah.
So, like, one thing that's interesting, a Twitter friend of mine, Gregory, was talking about how he's about my age, maybe a little bit older, and he and his wife had their son. They were both in their early 40s when their son was born. And he's like, I never could have done this 20 years ago. I had
Yeah.
a lot of leveling up that I needed to do emotionally,
Yeah.
socially, just
Yeah.
in terms of my financial security. Like, I
Right.
can't imagine being a partner in my 20s or a parent in my 20s.
I can't
Like,
either.
and why would you want to be a parent in your 20s? You're an idiot. You don't know anything. You don't have any money.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
have any stability. Like, I have to think the parents in their late 30s, early 40s are going to be way better at being parents because you're just more actualized as a person.
My
You've
sister
lived, you've done shit. Like,
my sister had 3 children before she was 25, and
oof.
let me tell you, she didn't know what the fuck she was doing. She had no clue what she was doing. None. She did a great job, but it's not. I'm not saying she didn't do a great job. I'm saying
I think
she
probably most parents do a
was
fine job.
she was just lost. The girl needed my mom. She was just going through crazy crap because you're 22 and you're pregnant and breastfeeding.
Hard pass. Hard fucking pass.
You know?
Oh my God.
What the fuck is going on?
No,
Your
thank
brain?
you. I would absolutely
Pop off
love to
your
have my
shoulders.
bodily autonomy back. Thank you.
Pregnant and
Instead of being a
breastfeeding and you're
reproduction machine.
22.
Fuck that. God damn. And
Yeah,
I'm thinking about
no.
myself at 22.
Yeah.
I was a fucking idiot.
I was an idiot.
I was
I'm
the
still an
biggest
idiot.
fucking idiot. What you should not let 22-year-old Jess have a child to take care of.
Yeah.
Absolute dumbass.
Some 22-year-olds are very mature. I was pretty
not one of
mature,
them.
but I was not. I was still, and to this day, I'm like, I like to read. No, like that's I
don't know. I don't want to. I don't want you to have a play date because that means I'd have to go out and talk to people, and I don't. Maybe I don't do that. So let's see it and read a book instead. My child would be an absolute just like social idiot and a hermit because I'd be like, no, we're not going anywhere.
I love how we're both hermits and we have a podcast where we talk all the time. And then like when I was talking with Daniel at the convention, he's like, I'm such an introvert. I'm like, but you have a YouTube channel. He goes, he was so quick to inform me. Let me tell you, with the quickness, he's like, no, that doesn't mean I'm extrovert. I'm like, I'm sorry. Whoa.
Well, you know what? I think I would be interested to know sort of the ratio of introverts to extroverts to sort of combos there are in the podcasting world. Because I'm wondering if podcasting isn't an opportunity for introverts to like get together with one or two other people that they're not afraid of and talk about shit to a bunch of like however many people.
That's what I'm
then
for.
Talk to those people who are listening on their own terms via email or Twitter or Facebook or whatever. Like, because we can absolutely control how we interact with our listeners. If we
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like talking to anybody, we just don't have to go on Twitter. Like, whereas if you're in a group of people, like you're there and there's a social agreement that you're going to be sociable with people, which is fine if that's what you're into. The thing that's really weird is that as I've gotten older, I've gotten more introverted.
Me too.
And I think I've mentioned this before, that my previous boss, Nicole, observed that I'm an extrovert until I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, once the battery's dead, that's it.
Yeah.
Liquor does extend the battery life
Me too.
significantly. But yeah, and I've always kind of wondered, because like it wasn't all that long ago that I used to go out and do stuff. I used to go out with like coworkers and stuff all the time. I don't know, is it old age? Is it like PTSD taking hold? I don't
Or
know.
do you have new coworkers? Do you not like your coworkers now?
I love my coworkers. I can't honestly think of I can think of one that I don't really like, but he's in California and I've never met him. So that's just like via Slack that I know that I don't care for him.
Yeah, that's not the same. You're good. You're
No,
good.
it's not. I like everybody that I work with. Like,
I don't know
it's
why.
a much bigger office now than it used to be. I mean, when there were only 30 or 50 of us, 10 to 20% of us would decide we're going to go out and rage on any given night. And it's like, I know everybody there.
Yeah.
It's different now, but
Maybe
yeah, I don't know. I used to go out and do stuff a lot. I don't do that very much anymore.
yeah, I don't do stuff anymore unless like there's some sort of convention or
Mm-hmm.
there's some sort of like reason that I can go associate with other nerds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not good around bros at all. I'm never and it's funny because I'm like this like because sometimes like I throw people off because I'm a young girl with like platinum blonde hair and whatever, and I dress girly. So sometimes a bro will come up to you like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Oh God!" Like, do not. Appearances can be deceived. Listen,
Don't talk to me.
and the shade, the level that I throw, it's like,
I bet it's breathtaking.
oh, but it's not disrespectful in any way. It's. Can you not?
Can you not?
Please go away.
I'm not
Thank
interested in
It's
talking
more
to
like
you.
it's like, thank you. All right, I'm gonna go over here now. Bye. So that's kind of
I
my
don't even have the patience for that anymore.
girls talk
I've
about dating. Listen, I've been with the same person for 18 years.
That's so many years.
I've never dated. I wouldn't know how to date. I can't handle.
Dating
They talk
sucks. Don't
about
do
the
it.
dating life, and I'm like,
I don't even
I
fucking.
don't even want. I don't even listen.
You want to know what? I never even dated either. My
I
first
can't
serious
even
boy.
go
I
out.
I married my first serious boyfriend out of college, and then I divorced him after 8 years, and then like I fucked a lot.
Yeah,
I didn't date anybody.
that's
I
different.
boned down. I boned
Yeah,
down super hard. And then
yeah,
I met Rich and immediately was in a long-term relationship and got married again. I never
yeah,
dated.
yeah. No,
I don't know how to do that. I know how
I
to
don't
find
know.
dick to climb.
Yeah, there are girls that talk about like dating these guys. I'm going up, so I'm like, listen, like
I don't get it.
dating multiple men at the same time.
A girlfriend of mine is
Where's the
getting
energy?
divorced and and I mean she's in like the immediate aftermath of deciding that they're going to split up, and so like she's like going hard.
Oh, she was you,
And
but in the past, yeah, uh-huh.
oh no, she went harder. She's going harder than me. We're
Nice.
talking about she's like having 2, 3, 4 dates in a day just because she can.
Good. Good for
I'm
her.
like, bitch, get it.
Go.
And she has climbed so much dick. I'm so excited for her.
Good.
But like, I'm just like, how are you not exhausted?
Fuck, sometimes I gotta get a stamina up just you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It's
I just
exhausting.
like
Yeah,
Well,
no.
and I mean that, yes, but also just being out with people.
Yeah, no.
That many different people. I'm just
No.
like, God, that sounds like hell.
Traffic enrages me, much less having to go talk to people.
Yeah, let alone talking to people. Fuck.
Yeah, no, fuck. Anyway.
Well, and I feel like there's something about a convention that's different. Because with a
There's an
convention,
unspoken understanding there.
everybody's there for the same reason. And depending on the size of the con and what it's about, we were looking at Jordan Con. It's a smaller group of people who are all there because of these books. And it doesn't matter who you talk to, you're going to have shit to talk about. When you're at something bigger like Dragon Con, okay, yeah, there are tens of thousands of people there. But at the end of the day, you're all there because you're fucking nerds.
Yeah,
and eventually you will find a nerddom that you share in common, and you'll have something to talk about.
Like you'll go to a panel that's like about some dumb anime that you random. You're like, all right, cool. And everybody knows. I think pretty much that everyone else that you're going to meet there is going to be a big fucking nerd, and pretty much anything goes. Like you could do whatever. People are just being weird and having their dancing little things with the boom boxes in the corner, and you're just like, whatever, it's fine.
Everybody's living their most authentic lives for a weekend.
Yes, they are.
And they don't have to worry about, the people that they work with or whatever finding out the truth.
Yeah, there could just
you just be who you are and fucking nerd out. Like, fuck.
Anyway,
what do you think? Should we talk about Robert Jordan's epic fantasy series, The Wheel of Time?
We have got so much cool shit to cover. Both of our chapters are lit.
These chapters are lit.
Yeah, let's
lit,
do it.
Fam. Let's do it. All right. This evening, I will be synapsizing chapter 22 of The Great Hunt, Watchers.
Woo woo woo.
Woo woo woo. Lights up on Moraine, sitting in a full room full of books and papers and scrolls and manuscripts, muttering that shit is not going down the way she thought it would. There are so many books and shit that it almost feels like the room itself is made of books and shit because they're all over everything except the windows, doors, and fireplace.
Take me now.
I know, right? Like, fuck, that sounds awesome. She's sitting in the library of a house a little outside a village called Tifon's Well in Arafel. This house is the home of two Aes Sedai sisters named Adelius, that's how I'm choosing to pronounce her name, Adelius, and Vandene. Adelius. A-D-E-L-E-A-S.
It's a weed. Kingsfoil.
Kingsfoil.
Adelas.
Adelas. And then you chew it up and you put it on a
Adelas.
And then you chew it up in your mouth and you put the mush on the wound from a Morgul blade, and then they don't die before they can get to Elrond.
Morgul. He says, touch my Morgul blade. Anyway.
Oh, fuck.
Sorry.
So what are we saying? Yes. Okay. Adelius and Vandene, who retired so long ago that not very many folks in the White Tower even remember they're still alive. The folks in the village don't know that they're Aes Sedai. They just see them as women blessed in the light and come to them for advice and medicine and whatnot. The sisters live here with an old warder and are planning to write a history of the world since the breaking with as much info as possible from before as well, eventually. Moraine is hunkering down here because it's a quiet place where she can clear her head and hopefully find the answers to some questions in the bazillion books that they have laying around. Unfortunately, so far, she's not having any luck. Lan is lounging by the fireplace doing his man boulder thing, and Moraine's like, do you remember the first time we met? And Lan's like, yeah. And she's like, still no apology for throwing me into a pond? I was fucking soaked, and New Spring in the Borderlands is cold as fuck. I almost froze. And Lan pokes the fire and says, yeah, and I built you a fire and hung blankets so that you could have privacy, and then you dumped half the pond on me while I was sleeping. You could have just told me you're an Aes Sedai. And Moraine's like, yeah, well, I was young and by myself, and you were a mountain-sized man then, too, and more openly fierce, and I didn't want you to know that I was Aes Sedai, because I thought you might answer my questions more freely if you didn't know. And she thinks for a minute and is like, did you ever suspect that I was going to ask you to bond to me while we were traveling after that? Because I decided that you were the one the very first day. And Lan's like, yeah, no. I was just hoping to get you to Shashin in one place. You fucked with me, in one piece, rather. You fucked with me every night. I remember the ants in particular. I didn't sleep for shit that whole trip. And Moraine smiles at the memory and then asks him whether the bond chafes him. She observes that he is not a man to, quote, wear a leash easily, even one so light as mine, end quote. This stings him, which was her intention. He's like, no. And he pokes the fire again, hard, even though it doesn't need it. You know, I knew what it was about. Blah, blah, blah. He says, you know, I knew what it was about, and I chose freely. honor to serve and all that. And Moraine's like, your humility is more arrogant than most kings with an army at their backs, and it's always been that way. And Lan's like, why do you keep talking about the good old days? Moraine thinks for a minute, and she's thought about how to say this a lot before finally biting the bullet. She tells him that before they left Tar Valon, she made arrangements to pass his bond to somebody else if she ever dies. He'll be compelled to seek her out immediately, and she doesn't want him to be surprised by it. As you might expect, Land is feeling a lot of feelings right now, one of which is pretty pissed off. He's like, you never used the bond to compel me before. You disapprove of that kind of thing. And Moraine's like, if I hadn't done it, you'd be free of my bond. And when I died, and you would run off and die trying to avenge me or die fighting in the Blight, and I won't fucking have it. It's a waste. We fight the same war, even if you don't see it that way. And I'm going to make sure that you fight it to some purpose. And Lan's like, do you figure you're going to beef it sometime soon? Like, have you made a plan without me that'll get your ass killed? And Moraine's like, I'm feeling glad that there's no pond in here right now. And Lan is not cool with her making a joke at the moment. And she's like, sorry, bud. I see my death every day, just like you. Now that shit is getting ready to pop off, it feels even more possible. Lan stares at his hands and says, I hadn't considered that you'd be the one to beef it first. Even at worst, I always thought, and then he cuts himself off and he scrubs his hands together. And this is really like the most emotion we've ever seen from him. If you're going to pass me around like a pet lapdog, will you at least tell me who's getting me? And Maureen's like, hey, I have never seen you as a pet, and neither does Morel. And Lan's like, of course she's agreeing. It'd have to be that or some slip of a girl just raised to the shawl. And Maureen's like, Morel will be able to handle your punk ass. She'd like to keep you, but she's promised to pass your bond to somebody else when she finds somebody who will suit you better. And at this, Lan's like, oh, cool. So I'm less of a pet and more of a FedEx package. Right on. You know, no Aes Sedai has passed her warder's bond to somebody else in 400 years. And now you're going to do it to me twice. Awesome. And Moraine's like, I said what I said. Die mad about it. Lan's like, do you even have a clue who I'm going to end up with? And Moraine's like, look, I'm doing this for your own good and probably the good of somebody else. Morel may very well find some slip of a girl who needs somebody who knows what the fuck he's doing and throw her into a pond if necessary. You have a lot to offer, bud, and I'm not going to let you go kill yourself when you could be helping somebody who needs you, and I definitely think she'll need you. Lan's eyes widen slightly at this, which is basically the equivalent of another man gasping in shock. Yeah. She'd never seen him off balance like this. He opens his mouth a couple times before finally asking who she has in mind, but Moraine cuts him off and says, are you sure the bonds don't chafe? Are you seeing how strong the bond is? I can pass you off to whoever I want. Are you sure it doesn't chafe? And now Lan is actually angry, like openly angry. For the first time ever in 20 years, Moraine sees actual anger on his face. He's like, so is that what this was all about? It's a test to see if you can make the bond chafe. You know, from the day you bonded me, I have gone where you told me, even if I thought it was dumb or if I had a reason to go somewhere else. I've watched you walk into bullshit and not done anything because you told me not to, even though I wanted to mow everybody down to keep you safe. You never needed to use the bond to force me to do anything. And after all that, you're pulling this bullshit test on me. And Moraine's like, it's not a test. And I'm not twisting my words. I did what I said I did. But at Faldara, I started to wonder whether you were still fully with me. Lan starts to look wary at this, and Moraine thinks to herself, I am so sorry I need to bust down your walls here, buddy, but I gotta know. And she says, why did you do what you did with Rand? And Lan's like, what? Because he'd been expecting her to ask something very different. Mm-hmm. She pushed on while he was off balance. She says, you brought him to the Amerlin talking and acting like a soldier and a border lord. I mean, it worked for what I wanted to do, but we never talked about you doing something like that. And Lan's like, it seemed like the right thing to do. Like when a young wolfhound meets his first wolf. If the wolf sees him as a puppy and he acts like a puppy, the wolf is going to fuck him up. If he's going to survive, the wolf needs to see him as a wolfhound. And Moraine's like, is that how you see me and the Amerlin and other Aes Sedai? As wolves to fuck up your young wolfhound? And Lan shakes his head, and Moraine continues, you know what he is and what he has to become. This is what we've been working on together since the first day we met, and before that even. Are you having doubts now? Are you starting to have doubts? And Moraine can see that he's putting his walls back up again, but they aren't quite rebuilt yet. And Lan's like, maybe it was his big Teviran energy. All I know is that it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. The Emmons Fielders needed somebody on their side, or at least Rand did. You know I believe in what we're doing, even when I don't understand what the fuck you're doing half the time. I haven't asked, and I will not ask to be released from my bond. And whatever your plans are for me, I will really enjoy keeping your dumbass alive so you can't execute them. And Moraine's like, yeah, it could have been that big Teviran energy. She makes some kind of weird log metaphor, basically saying that no matter what she does, shit goes sideways, but they have to see it through to the end. And she says, I won't be mad if you manage to fuck up my plans because dying probably sucks, but for the moment, I need some me time so I can think. Lan heads for the door, but she stops him before he leaves and asks if he's ever dreamed of something different. And he's like, all men dream, but I know a dream when I see it, and this is reality. And he touches the hilt of his sword. And with that, the walls are back up again. Moraine sits back and thinks about how Nynaeve has managed to put cracks in those walls without even trying or realizing what she's doing. She cracked the walls and got creepers up in there, slowly breaking them down without him knowing it. In the beginning, he didn't give a fuck about the Emmonsfielders past that Moraine wanted them, but Nynaeve had changed all that. Moraine feels a pang of jealousy, which is new. She never felt it with any women who fell in love with him or boned down with him, and generally had never considered him as something to get jealous over, kind of like any other man, not something to get jealous over. She just doesn't think of him that way. Now they're both married to their respective battles, and they'd been companions in those battles for 20 years. And they fought together and fought to keep each other alive, but now a new bride has caught his eye, though he didn't seem to realize it. And she wonders if he'll be able to be so unconcerned about death now. She also wonders when he'll ask her to release him from his bond and what she'll do when he does. She shakes herself out of it to go back to work when Vandene comes in with some tea. She's slender with a straight back, and her hair, which is worn bound at the nape of her neck, is almost white. Her face is ageless and smooth, but you can tell she's seen some shit because she's old as fuck. She said she would have Jaime the warder bring it, blah, 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 blah. I'm starting that over. She said she would have had Jaime the warder bring it, but he's out in the barn practicing with his sword. Apparently Lan's visit made him remember that he used to be a fighter. She asks if Moraine has found what she's looking for. Moraine's like, I'm not even sure what I'm looking for. Vandene observes, based on all the books and shit that she has in front of her, that she doesn't even seem to know where to look. Moraine's looking at shit about the Trolloc Wars, the Watchers Over the Waves, the Legend of the Return, the Horn of Valir, Dark Prophecy, the Forsaken, Shadar Logoth, and 4 translations of the Prophecies of the Dragon. Vandene's like, what are you even looking for here? I get the prophecies, what with all the false dragons, but... And then she cuts herself off, remembering that Moraine asked for privacy and gets up to leave. Moraine stops her and says that maybe Vandene can answer some of her questions. Vandene is green, but Adelius is brown, and they study together so much that Vandene may as well be a brown too. Vandene is like, hell yeah, and she pours some tea. Moraine thinks about what she wants to say because she needs to make sure that she can get the answers she wants without giving too much away. She asks whether the Horn of Valir is linked to the dragon anywhere, and Vandene says no, outside of the fact that the horn needs to be found before Tarmon Gai'dan, and the dragon needs to fight at Tarmon Gai'dan. She asks about the dragon in Tomon Head, and Vandene tells her about a verse in the original prophecy that translates literally to 5 ride forth and 4 return. Above the watchers shall he proclaim himself, bannered across the sky in fire. Apparently, Vandene and Adelius have a difference of opinion about this because it uses the word Mavron. It's translated as Avron, which means watchers, but Mavron, with a capital M, means watchers over the waves. In any event, Vandene figures it means the dragon will appear somewhere above Tomon Head, somehow. Vandene talks some about how she's worried that the last battle is coming and talks about Mazrim Taim and some other shit. Moraine tells her not to worry about Taim and asks about Shadar Logoth. Vandene tells us about a bunch of stuff that we already know about it and why Shadar Logoth is bad, and says it has nothing to do with the dragon. Moraine says she means, is there a reason that a Fade would take something from Shadar Logoth? And Van's like, I don't hardly think so. Because if we will recall, the Mashadar, the deadly fog inside Shadar Logoth, will fuck up Shadowspawn big time. Moraine asks about the Forsaken, and Vandene's like, I don't know any more about them than I did as a novice. Nobody does. And Moraine asks about Lanfear specifically. And Vandene's like, yeah, all we know is that she used to bone down with Lews and Telamon. And then she asks Moraine if she knows whether the dragon has been reborn. Moraine's like, do you think I'd be here if I did? The Amberlin knows as much as I do. Have you received a summons? And Vandene's like, well, no. Vandene muses on what they need to do once the dragon was reborn and how they would be able to gentle him before the last battle, and everything points towards shit getting real soon. Moraine's like, he'll come and we'll do what we need to do. And Vandene's like, okay, I'm out, but you need to do something with Lan because he's moping about a girl. Maybe he's got a crush on you. And Moraine's like, no, he sees me as Aes Sedai. Hopefully he still sees me as a friend. And Vandene's like, you blues are always so ready to save the world that you lose yourselves, as she leaves. Moraine grabs her cloak and goes into the garden for some fresh air. Vandene had said something that poked at her mind, but she couldn't remember what it was. She feels like it's the answer to a question she hadn't asked, but she doesn't know what the question was either. The garden is small and tidy with paths through the flower beds, and she walks along deep in thought. She hears someone on the path behind her and she turns around thinking it's Lan, but it's not Lan. It's Batman. Okay, it's probably not the Batman, but it is a Batman.
It's
A creature that looks like a too tall man wrapped in a cloak. Its face in the moonlight is pale and gaunt with black eyes that are too big and a puckered red mouth. And when the cloak opens, it's revealed to be giant bat wings. Na 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 Drakkar.
Yep, for real. For real.
For real. I'm going to take a little sip of my whiskey here. Drakkar. Moiraine opens herself to Saidar, but knows it's already too late. The Batman starts to sing, and she's basically entranced. Saidar slips away. The crooning song actually suppresses feelings, so she doesn't feel very much at all, except sort of sad. White, human-esque hands tipped with claws reach for her, and the lips smile, revealing sharp teeth. But Moiraine dimly knows that the Batman isn't going to bite her. It's going to kiss her. And when it does, she'll be drained of soul and then life. She'd be a corpse without a mark on her, and she'd be cold like she'd been dead 2 days already. If they got to her before she died, it would be even worse. She'd be a shell.
Nice.
The Batman goes in for the smooch, and Moiraine is barely surprised when the sword comes over her shoulder to stab it in the chest, and then another sword comes over the other shoulder to stab it in the chest also. And as though from a distance, she sees Lan and Jaime, the older warder, stabbing the fuck out of the Batman. The Batman was grabbing at the blades, they're sharp, stupid, and beating his wings against the men, and then he starts to sing to the warders, and Moiraine is like, oh fuck. She's still kind of fucked up, but she gathers her shit and opens herself to Saidar. She can't cast an AoE spell without hurting the warders, so she has to touch the Batman directly, which is icky. But before she can actually do anything, Lan yells, embrace death, and Jaime yells, embrace death, and they step in and hilt their swords in that motherfucker. Hell yeah, bitch.
In case y'all are wondering, I'm doing the scissoring thing with my fingers in front of the camera.
Very graphic and sensual.
They scissor the Batman with their sword.
They did. They scissored him. The Batman screams and makes all kinds of ruckus. Darkspawn don't die with dignity, apparently.
Darkspawn don't die with dignity. That's the next James Bond film. Die another day. Darkspawn don't die with dignity.
So he makes all kind of ruckus, a noise that makes Moiraine feel like she's getting stabbed in the head with needles and not in an acupuncture way, I assume. It finally fucking dies and falls over, knocking Jaime over in the process, and Lan looks like 10 miles of bad road himself. Vandene and Adelius come out of the house with lanterns to see what all the damned fuss is about, and when they see the Batman, they're like, oh fuck. Vandene checks on Moiraine right away to make sure she's not a zombie or whatever, and Moraine's like, I'm cool, check on the warders. Lan's like, if you hadn't pissed me off so bad that I went to do sword forms with Jaime and then pissed off enough to give up on it and come back, and Moraine's like, yeah, well, the wheel weaves and shit. Adelius is like, how in the fuck could Shadowspawn come this close without us sensing it? And Moraine's like, that bitch was warded. And Adelius is like, the hell you say? Only a sister could do that. And then she's like, oh fuck! They hear a bunch of shouts coming from the village since the Batman was such a drama queen that they heard it and were coming to check on the sisters. Moraine's like, Black Aja bitches, you need to dump this body. Jaime, go meet them and tell them you're fine and slow them down. Adelius is like, Black Aja or not, how the fuck did it get here? And Vandene is just looking at Moiraine like, really, bitch? Moraine's like, right, we gotta bounce. Lan, bring the car around. Ladies, I'm gonna leave some letters for you. Ladies, I'm gonna leave some letters for you to send to the tower if that's cool. And they're like, sure, whatever. Vandena's like, are you gonna find your answers wherever you're going? And Moraine's like, I think I just found one I didn't even know I needed, and I hope I'm not too late. And she goes in the house with Vandene to write her letters and leaves Adelius to deal with the Batman. And thus endeth the synopsis.
So here we have it, the fated chapter of one of the biggest things that we debate about to this day in the Wheel of Time fandom is in this chapter. It's something that Jess and I have already discussed on a Patreon episode. Now we're actually talking about it in a regular podcast episode because we are discussing the chapter where Moiraine reveals that without Lan's consent or knowledge, she intentionally went ahead and pre-planned to pass Lan's warder bond in the event of Moiraine's death to another Aes Sedai without him knowing.
And
which is fucked up
It's super fucked up.
This fueled Jen's, I don't like Moraine. She's not that good of a person. I mean, tenfold in this chapter right here.
Mm-hmm.
Lan's like, you did what? Like, why couldn't you have told me? So Rand is not left out in this chapter. Moraine does not tell Rand what he needs to know, and she does not tell Lan what he needs to know. She just does whatever the fuck she thinks is good for everyone anyway, and I'll suffer the consequences later is her situation.
I mean, what does Swan Sanche say?
I love that quote.
Take what you want
and pay for it.
And pay for it.
That's my personal Twitter handle thing.
That's what we get into a lot of discussion about this, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it, but basically there's a lot of gray area here. Because Moraine has what I feel like are extremely solid reasons for doing the thing that she wanted to do. Lan is needed. People need her, need him. Nynaeve needs him. I mean, she doesn't say it outright, but it seems clear to me that she intends to eventually have Lan's bond passed to Nynaeve when she's ready.
I would agree with that.
It seems clear.
Yes.
So, she's honestly doing Nynaeve a solid here. She might not be doing it on purpose. She might be doing it for Lan's sake, but she is doing Nynaeve a solid by making it so that Lan will not go off and get himself killed after the bond is broken, because that's what happens with warders. Once his bond with his Aes Sedai is broken, if she dies, he basically loses his shit, and he will die avenging her. And if he doesn't die in that process, he's going to die doing something else. Like, the sort of will to live is completely gone. This is one of the things about the warder bond that is kind of unethical. And I mean, even if warders sort of understand that going in, it's still kind of bullshit. So there's that whole thing. She does this without his consent, and that's the thing that makes it really difficult. She had solid reasons for doing it. You're needed. The last battle is coming. Somebody else needs you. You have a job to do, and you might not think so, but not getting killed by yourself in the Blight is the best way for you to fight this battle that you've inherited from birth. And, all of these are really strong reasons, but it doesn't change the fact that she took away his autonomy by doing this without asking him if it was okay.
I think I pinpointed the reason why I don't like Moraine.
Tell me.
Whether she's right or not, she thinks her opinion of what should be done trumps other people's autonomy and thinking or dissenting opinions around her. If someone disagrees with Moraine or has a different agenda than Moraine or has a regular human being around Moraine that just happens to maybe not agree with her, she'll mow them down and does not care. Like, she does. Like, that's why she's a perfect blue. She's the pinnacle of blue to me, because her agenda, her goal matters, and fuck who dies is inconvenienced, is fucked over. You see this from the eye of the world from the very beginning. And you can have an opinion on how you feel about somebody that's dedicated. You'll never be able to take that away from her. That is a good thing. But at the same time, it's like, if Moraine was just a smidge more selfish, she could use that drive to do what she thinks is best for the world. And a regular human being, a non-Aes Sedai, that would breed a dictator. That way of thinking. My way is best. My way is best. That's an almost fascist way of thinking. But Moraine is better than human. And she's right. And she's Aes Sedai, so she doesn't have those selfish impulses or evil impulses that make something like that. I know I'm probably going to have a whole lot of blowback about saying that. But when you think about it, at the root of what creates those kind of dictator people is a goal or an ideal that says, at all costs, I'm going to sacrifice my friends, my family, everyone I've ever known for blank goal, no matter how lofty or wonderful it is. And everybody else be damned, including myself, will set myself on fire to do blank. And that's all well and good. But when you lose sight of everyone else in the entire world, including your friends and the people that help you get there, eh. So I think that's my intrinsic feeling about her. She is saved from that because of her sacrifices, which I will not get into further without spoilers. Because she does sacrifice greatly. And she doesn't have greed or selfishness that other people that think that would also feel.
Yeah, I think that that's really the thing that draws the line between Moraine as a blue being unwaveringly dedicated to her cause, because as we'll remember, blues do causes.
Yes.
They have a mission, they have something that is important to them, and everything that they do is in furthering that cause. It just so happens that Moraine's cause is saving the world. I think the difference between her and an actual like dictator or fascist or something like that is that there is no cowardice there. There's no, like you said, no selfishness there. She is absolutely 100% legitimately and truthfully willing to sacrifice herself if necessary. Here's the difference. Good leadership and bad leadership. Bad leadership is where you ask the people that you're leading to do something that you yourself would not do. Good leadership is doing those things first and leading by example. And, in a way, Moraine does that. She would absolutely sacrifice herself. She's not asking anybody else to do something that she wouldn't do herself.
This is true. However, I feel like I don't know at what point Moraine went off from being able to have, because most Aes Sedai are this way. It's not just Moraine. This is actually not Moraine. Moraine falls into what Aes Sedai as a whole, no matter what Aja they are, way of thinking of.
They're hubris.
There may be a better way. Maybe Moraine, in your quest to save the world and sacrifice yourself, there may have been something over here that affected someone else. You may have done that wrong. Moraine, do you want to actually reflect upon your actions and maybe think that maybe you shouldn't have done this way? You might have done
2020.
There could be a better way, Moraine. Do this.
I mean,
Moraine, why don't you take the advice of some people that are older than you and have also maybe had the same cause as you before, or maybe know or have better thoughts about a subject than you, and alter your plans based on that?
well, I mean,
I think you can't talk to Moraine. She's done. Like,
well, here's the thing. I think that
she can't take constructive criticism.
Well, you know what? I don't know if that's necessarily true. That she can't take constructive criticism. I think that Moraine is actually extremely good at seeing the big picture. She is able, because of her hyper focus on this cause, she's able to zoom out, to use some, corporate lingo. She's able to zoom out to that 30,000 foot view, and she's able to see the bigger picture that says, okay, this is a tiny thing that we're doing. If we do it this way, this is going to happen. If we do it this way, this is going to happen. And this thing happening isn't good because it's going to set off this chain reaction of other things that's going to fuck everything up for us. I think that she's extraordinarily good at being able to zoom out and see that stuff that other people aren't necessarily able to see. She also has a huge amount of knowledge just in terms of what's happening in the world and stuff like that. Not necessarily perfect, obviously, because it's not like she can go check fucking Twitter to find out what's happening. I think the other thing is, I definitely see what you're saying vis-a-vis, could there be a better way to do things? But I think that just like anybody else, she's doing the best she can with the information she has available to her. She's not omniscient. It's not like she can text Swan and be like, hey, what's the deets? What's new? She has information. She gets new information when she can. And then she just kind of has to roll with it because that's all she's got, So I'm not trying to invalidate what it is that you're saying, but I feel like she deserves a little bit more credit than that.
I respectfully agree with you. It's not that I'm too harsh. It's just that I feel like maybe I have to overcompensate for all the absolute adoration everyone feels toward her in this series, and be like, okay, if she made one mistake in this series, would you still have the same feelings towards her? It would. I
Well,
think it would paint her an entire different light to most people that really like Moraine as a whole. Be like, okay, what if she really fucked up one situation?
as
Would
far
you
as I'm
still
concerned,
hold her
she's
the same
already fucked up
standard?
one situation.
Which one?
I've talked
Doing
about it
what?
before, the way she deals with Rand. She does a bad
Um,
job. She does a real bad job dealing with Rand. And she
mm.
shoots herself in the foot in the process. Here's the thing, Moraine's not a Mary Sue character. She's flawed and she's complicated. And you know what? She fucks up. She doesn't do things the way that we would do it. She doesn't do it the way other people would do it. She does it Moraine's way. And
No,
sometimes
that's
it
my
works and
entire
sometimes it
point.
doesn't.
Is that I'm seeing her painted actually as a person that can't fuck up. So, which is why I made the point. If she did, would you hold her the same ideal? Because to me, she's like she was the first person, and then I can't get into all that of things that happened to her later right now.
Mm.
But because of blank, it's just like, oh my god, here she comes, Miss America. And I'm like, is she though? Like,
Well,
compared to like fucking farmer Grable that's digging turnips out of the garden, she absolutely is. But I'm
don't
really
you think
dodgy about that kind of I have to save the world mindset, because you got it, that breeds zealotry. That the only thing that she's missing from like a weird skein of that is if she became religious or something like that. It's really fine, that kind of zealotry, which is what I feel that she has,
I
and she
mean
makes the right decisions based on it. But it's man, it's a fine line.
it's an interesting point, and I think that it's a valid point because, if you look at Moraine, she is making the best decisions that she can with the information that she has. She does take criticism. I think that I would like to think that she takes it into consideration. I don't know that she often takes it, like, other suggestions or whatever, but if you look at that, where, she's sort of single minded in this mission that she has, not all that different from Galad, also single minded in his mission. And the difference between Galad and Moraine is that Galad is an actual zealot. We'll meet him later. He's
We've
a
actually
zealot.
already met
Oh, wait, we
him,
actually did already meet him.
but we haven't got
We
to all
call
the
him, we
different
say he's
facets. Yeah,
lawful good. Um, Galad is the kind of person who would absolutely sacrifice himself for his ideals. But, the main difference I think between them is really the fact that, for all intents and purposes, Galad is religious.
I like how you say Henry Galad. I love you just because you said that, and my fucking mind is kind of like halfway blown right now
Why?
because
What
I
did I?
never
Which part?
considered that
I never
Moraine
considered it. It just literally just
Galad.
sprung into my
But
head.
that's actually, and I've never seen that anywhere else. That's completely unique from what I've seen anyway. Wow, I
Woohoo!
like that. I really appreciate that, and I'm absorbing that, and I'm like kind of
We need to think
settling
about
in.
that and then come back to it because,
Yeah,
yeah,
girl.
like
I love that point.
that just came to me now. Okay,
Yeah,
she's not a zealot. What makes her not a zealot? Who is somebody else who is? Okay, actually, yeah, they're really similar. So,
I like
but
this.
yeah, that's good.
I want to do the right thing no matter what.
What's your motivation?
Yeah, doing the right thing or saving the world.
Yeah,
No,
I
at
mean,
the
well,
cost of
the
what?
right thing to her, saving the world is the right thing.
Right.
To Galad, the right thing is whatever. What are your motivations for that? Well, for Galad, it's making sure that people are walking in the light, zealotry. For Moraine, it's, well, causes are what I do, and this is what I picked, and the world's going to end, so how about not? It's it's an interesting thing to think about, and I think we need to take that into consideration.
I love
So,
you. That's why
what
you're
else
our
do we
Amaran.
what else do we want to call out from this chapter? we definitely touched on the water bond situation. I want to touch on the fact that Lan actually got openly angry. So far, we have never seen Lan really kind of express any kind of emotion. The most he's ever done has been like getting kind of growly with Nynaeve. That's the closest to it.
Here's my thing. Could not Moraine show some hint of compassion toward him and his plight and approached him instead of trying to push him and test him to anger, which, good job, well done. You also never failed at that. Because, again, but could you not be like, hey, Lan, I know you're going through these things, but at the end of the day, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Couldn't she approach it that way with Lan? Using his emotions instead of making angry, saying, I know who you care about. Here's a way for you to eventually be with her, even though you can't right now. Why couldn't she do that?
I think
that's a way to present the water passing of the bond, which is what she wanted to tell him, and say, hey, this happened, but at the end it's gonna eventually help you.
I mean,
why couldn't she say that?
I'm trying to come up with a way to sort of justify the way that she did that. The only thing I can think is that she's known him for 20 years. Mm-hmm. She knows him honestly outside of the boning down part. She knows him as well as any other person knows their spouse. She knows him as well as Chris. She knows how to talk to him. She knows how to get information from him. She knows how to push his buttons, and she knows what buttons she needs to push in order to get the result that she wants. She chooses not to do it because she does have compassion. She's never used the bond to compel him before, ever. Because she doesn't believe in that kind of thing. She thinks it's wrong.
Right.
That in and of itself is compassionate. She sees him as a person, not as a piece of property, not as an object, not as a servant who is meant to do her whim. She sees him, I really think, very much as an equal.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's sort of the only thing that I have to sort of justify what it is, the way that she's presented this. The only other thing that I can think is that Moraine, particularly being Cairhienin, is not overburdened with a huge amount of like emotional capacity to be that way. The way that I would say
appreciate that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think we have to consider that, as a Cairhienin, she's not effusive with her emotions anyway.
I appreciate that. And I respect that. I bow to that. That I will.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even for her, there could have been a sort of more gentle way to break that news.
But maybe like she just said, that's not how she do. That's not how the Cairhienin do. Yeah.
Well, and maybe she just thought, you know what? I've been thinking it could be that she's been trying to figure out how to tell him this since they left the tower. Maybe she wanted to tell him right away, but she couldn't think of the best way to do it without just blowing everything up. And she finally got to the point where she's like, okay, I have to rip the Band-Aid off. I just have to get it over with. I can't sit on this anymore. He needs to know. And, it's just like, fine, fuck it. This is what happened. Die mad about it.
Do you think it was like she said later, she had jealousy? You think it was a little bit of that jealousy that made her approach the subject that way? Just to rile him a little bit because she was riled?
You know what? That actually seems really likely to me, and obviously it's not jealousy from a romantic place because she doesn't see him that way, but he has been her boon companion for 20 years. They're together all the time.
Now
and they've gone through shit together. Like, I glossed over it because I already have 5 pages of synapses on this 6-page chapter. Like, I didn't want to get into any more detail. But, she talked about how he rode a horse to death and then ran carrying her till he almost died to get her to another Aes Sedai to heal her because she was going to die. And she has brought him back from the brink multiple times. And it's sort of when you have that kind of bond with somebody where you think about it the way that soldiers bond together when they've been in battle. And they've gone through that shit together. She's healed him. He's gotten her healed. He's protected her. She's protected him. And they have this really, really deep bond, and they have this mutual respect. And she probably never expected that some pretty woman with a long braid from the back end of nowhere was going to all of a sudden come and fuck all of that up.
Yeah.
She was never jealous with any of the women who took him to bed. She was never jealous with any of the women who threw their hearts at his feet, because she knew that it didn't mean anything. With
Right.
Nynaeve, she can tell it means something. And now she knows that eventually she's going to lose her companion and her friend to Nynaeve. She knows it's inevitable. And so, yeah, I think it's probably really likely that there's a certain amount of, you fucker,
Yeah.
you had to go and fall in love, didn't you? Well, guess what? I'm going to be a little bit petty.
That's what I was thinking a little bit too. And in that way, she shows a little bit of more human emotion that we as a reader can commiserate with and understand than any of her previous actions before.
Yeah,
so I
absolutely.
like
that. It does
Yeah.
humanize her to a certain extent.
It
I
does.
mean, she doesn't handle it well, but
the way that she imparted that information anyway was very much okay. You
I
get a
think
little bit emotional about the way you're talking about this.
I do think that you could probably read it as a little bit vindictive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and
I'm going to
you
push
know,
your
it's
buttons and then tell you. I'm going to skirt around the subject and then drive it home.
Yeah, and I think we've all been there.
Yeah, I've done it. I'm not above.
Mm-mm.
I'm not above.
And it's like we've all handled things poorly. So,
Okay.
That's one of the things that I really appreciate about this is all of these characters are so human. They make the kinds of mistakes that we make.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it very easy to sort of see some of yourself in them.
Yes.
It makes them
I've
very
done
relatable.
shit like that before where someone's pissed me off. I'm like, oh, you want to play?
Oh, you want to do this? Okay, cool.
Here's something I haven't told you because I want to be nice, but if you want to do this, here you go. Boom, your day's ruined. Fuck off.
Are you ready for a fucking truth bomb? Because guess what?
Ball.
Here it comes.
Yeah, I've done it.
Bombs away, bitch.
Yeah, I enjoy that. So.
Oh, fuck.
Anyway.
Then just to kind of touch on a couple of other things, Maureen asked Vandene some questions. None of these should be surprises to us. She asks about whether the dragon and the horn are linked. As we know, the horn and the dragon have been separated. She probably wants to know whether that's important. Is that a problem? Like, how high on the priority list do we need to put this? Is this really a red alert or what? She also asks about the dragon in Toman Head. As we know, I think primarily from Paddan Fane, we have heard him saying that he will see Rand al'Thor on Toman Head, and surely Moiraine's thinking, why? Why though? What the fuck is he going to be doing there, and why? So she wants to know about that. And we do find out that there is some information in the original prophecy that if you translate it sort of directly, it translates to basically he proclaims himself and is bannered across the sky in fire. Who the fuck knows what that means? Not this bitch. But here we are. We also talk about the Watchers over the waves.
Interesting. And don't we remember from a previous chapter that there are already some white cloaks that are just setting up camp at Toma Head? Because there are some like weird foreigners coming around that
I think that's
are using Ice to Die to fight or whatever already there.
That is correct. Not on Tome. It's not on. Is it? It's not on Toman Head. It's in
Almouth Plain and Toman Head.
Yes.
Almouth Plain.
So so there's that whole thing. And then she asks about Shadar Logoth. And this actually doesn't have anything to do with the dragon. She wants to know why a Fade would take something from that. She's still under the impression that a Fade has taken the dagger. Now, we know that Paddan Fane took the dagger.
Yep.
And that for some reason it's important to him. And it makes him feel complete. But she doesn't know that.
She doesn't.
She thinks that the Fade, who's in charge of the Trolloc attack, took the dagger and kidnapped Panon Fane. Whereas at this point, we know that Panon Fane is actually running the show. So there's that. And then she asks about Lanfear. And so I'm wondering why she is asking about Lanfear. Did I forget about something that we've read that she... Well, you want to know what? Egwene had that dream, and she told... I can't remember her name. One of the Aes Sedai about it.
Yeah.
No, but that
Maybe.
was after Lan and Moraine lit out.
Right.
So that
So
wouldn't have gotten back to her.
here's my thing. The only reason why I could think that Moraine would be asking about Lanfear is because she knows that the dragon has been reborn. And who originally was a dragon reborn? Lews Therin. And Lews Therin would probably be in the most weirdest amount of danger, if that makes any sense, from Lanfear of all the Forsaken, because of the odd sexual remembrance, overtones of
wants to get on that
obsession,
dick.
fatal attraction, some weird stuff going on there.
She's gonna boil the shit out of his rabbit.
So she's probably trying to figure out maybe if the Forsaken have come back, because she did know she saw Bathamiel and Agenor there at the end of the Eye of the World. She's
I mean, we
probably
know the
wondering
seals on the Dark One's prison are weakening. Which
so
means...
she's like, if Lanfear is coming back, who was she? And maybe, I don't know, maybe she's thinking Egwene could be Lanfear.
Well, that's interesting.
She doesn't know who she could come back as reincarnated as, and they're supposed to be married or whatever. So maybe she's like, is one of these Emmons Fielders that can channel, because Egwene can, and is a very powerful channeler at that. Could she be Lanfear reborn?
But
maybe
she knows that Lanfear is one of the Forsaken, and the Forsaken aren't reborn; they're sealed.
Right, that's
with
true.
the Dark One.
Maybe that's true. So it couldn't be Egwene. So maybe she's wondering who maybe Rand will run into in the future or something like that.
Yeah, she might be trying to assess. She might be trying to do a risk assessment.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I'm thinking.
Like, okay,
thank you for putting it that way.
Yeah,
I like it.
think
I like risk assessment.
Risk assessment. Yeah, I mean,
I appreciate
it. It's really funny how often you can apply like these corporate terms to shit
No,
like
I
this,
like
like
it.
the 30,000 foot view and shit. Like,
risk
what have I
assessment.
become?
No, I appreciate it. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That works.
But yeah, I have to think that the previous dragon was Lews Therin Telamon. That was in the Age of Legends. We all know that Lanfear went over to the Shadow, became one of the Forsaken, and he had been boning down with her before he broke up with her and married Ilyena. So, yeah, I have to think that Moraine's looking at that and being like, okay, if the Forsaken are coming back, we've seen Agenor, we've seen Baphomet. If there are more of them, if Lanfear comes back, is she going to be looking for him? So, because I get the impression, were there Forsaken before the Age of Legends?
No, they were Lews Therin's best friends.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just wondering, like,
no, it started at the Age of Legends because I won't say who, but the boar was created by someone.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
We can steer away from spoiler territory.
Okay.
I'm with you.
Okay.
But so yeah, she asks about Lanfear, and then this is really interesting. This is a fun Aes Sedai kind of sidestep where Vandene says whether she knows that the dragon has been reborn.
Oh, well, this is my favorite part of the chapter.
Is he going to be reborn, or has he been reborn?
Oh,
and Moraine's like, do you think that I would be here if I knew that he'd been reborn? She's not saying yes, and she's not saying no.
And she goes, this to you, I swear, I know as much about the Dragon Reborn as the Amyrlin does.
Which is true.
But, I mean, come on, bro. But anyone listening to that would be like, oh, that means that
Like,
Amberlin
we would
doesn't know
assume.
nothing. Meanwhile, to the reader, they're like, they're best friends and they know everything. She's told Swana they've had this whole fucking 20-year-old quest to find the Dragon Reborn, and she knows it's Rand. Ah! Meanwhile, she goes, I promise I know as much as the Amberlin does. You're like,
Yeah. And,
oh,
like, the fact
fuck,
that
double speak.
Vandene and Adelius haven't
Oh,
received a
fuck, I
summon
hate
from the
you.
Amerlin is evidence. Like, she doesn't say anything that's untrue,
Right.
but what she says leads somebody to make the assumption that no, Moraine does not know whether the dragon has been reborn or not, which is like fucking word gymnastics. It's amazing. It's so
I
good.
love it. I love it. Eyes to die, man. The
Yeah.
lawyers of forever.
I
I
mean,
love it.
seriously though, like fuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Vandene can tell that Lan is having girl problems and says that Moraine needs to like deal with that shit.
99 problems.
And a bitch is definitely one of those problems.
Yep.
Two of those problems, really.
Yeah.
So then Maureen goes out for a nice walk and starts to get seduced by Batman. And that was some shit. That's fucking terrifying.
So I am angry at myself as a first time reader for when I read this, and they even tell you point blank only a black Aja could bring the Drakkar here because it was because we could not sense shadow spawn. That means that it had to be a sister working with the one power with Saidar to block it off, right,
Yeah.
with the shield. So only a sister could bring in here that's of the Black Aja. And I just glossed over that reading this the first time and never considered it, even though they state implicitly, oh my God, reader, be on the lookout for another maybe Black Aja sister other than Leandrin right now that's doing shit at their house with Vandene and Adalas at the last weed. I'm going to call her
Kingsfoil.
at the
Let's
last
call her
weed.
Kingsfoil from now on.
She's Kingsfoil, fuck it all. So, you know, they're there, and it's Kingsfoil and her sister Vandene. And what,
That's
like
how
I'm
I'm
wrong?
going in the show description.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong, bro? So, yeah, and I was just like, okay, I read that, and I just kept on going through the story. Never considered who that might have been that sent that. Never considered the consequences. Never fucking considered that after this chapter.
Here's the thing. This is the third time I've read that chapter, and all three times, I automatically assumed that the Black Aja sister was somewhere else. You're positing that the Black Aja sister is either Vandene or Adelius.
That was
in
the pre.
Well, no, but we're not saying this any one of them. Like, you're positing that it's one of the sisters. I automatically assumed that it was somebody else. So we don't know. Yeah. We don't know who sent them. We don't know that Vandene and or Adelius are not Black Aja.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know that.
Moraine could be Black Aja.
I mean, I was literally just going to say, we don't actually technically know that Moraine's not
Moraine is Black Aja. That would explain her treatment of Lan.
So, you know, it could have been any one of those three women, although it seems unlikely that Moraine would have.
I think Lan's Black Aja.
Lan's Black Aja. That's canon.
It's Lan.
But I mean, in 3 times reading it, the third time very closely and carefully and then recapping it, literally never considered until we talked before the show that maybe the woman in the Black Aja was Vandene and or Adelius. We don't know. So,
my bet's on Athalos.
Kingsfoil? Your money's on Kingsfoil? Okay.
Yes.
$5 on Kingsfoil for Black Aja.
Sounds like a horse over horse racing. Mm-hmm. You know what I meant by saying that.
So then Lan and Jaime are fucking badasses, and they scream embrace death, and they kill that fucker. And then Moraine's like, yo, we gotta bounce out of this shit.
Bring the car around front, man. Bring the car around front.
Bring the car around, bud.
Ride or die.
Yeah, ride or die. This is yeah, it was like a 6.5 page chapter, and I have 5 pages, 5 full pages. The 5th page all the way down to the bottom.
6
Five
full
pages of
inches, not
notes.
flaccid inches, full
No,
inches,
full
real
inches,
time,
full
full hours.
girthy stamina, like
It was girthy. It was
girthy
girthy.
pages.
I love
5
girthy.
real girthy pages here. So
Portly, if you will.
you need a magnum for this bitch.
You, no, it ain't talking ice cream.
Shall we do yours? We're
No,
already like an hour and
we're
10 minutes
done.
in just on my one chapter.
Thank
This is
you
going
for
to be a
joining us
3-hour
in the White
episode.
Tower podcast. Next episode. Next time on the White Tower.
All right, let's
We
do it.
talk Black Magic. Okay. I make mine really short.
No, don't make it short. Do what you got to do.
I do it. I'm going to do mine. Every time I actually read this chapter, guys, I cry. So
Don't
I'm
cry.
going to try not to cry in my a little bit non-sober state doing this. The testing. Actually, I'm more sober than you guys think. Nynaeve stands in a huge chamber far beneath Tarvalon, with Sheriam, mistress of novices, at her side. Centered under the dome was 3 rounded silver arches, just tall enough to walk under, sitting on a thick silver ring. It's girthy. Arches and ring are all one piece. Where arch touches ring, and Aes Sedai sits cross-legged on the stone floor, staring at the thing. Another Aes Sedai stands beside a table with 3 silver chalices full of water. Each Aes Sedai wears their shawl. The arches are what is called a terengrial. They're remnants of the Age of Legends and can only work if the one power is, and this one can only work if the one power is used on it. Sheriam is explaining that of the terengrial that the Aes Sedai have uncovered, some are dangerous, and they only use a few because they still don't know everything that these things can do, and are working on studying these bad boys to uncover the mysteries of them all, sometimes met with death. Nynaeve looks into the arches that flicker with light. Sheriam says that the terengrial will bring whomever steps through them face to face with their greatest fears. No one will ask Nynaeve what she faces in there when she goes in, because each woman's fears are her own property. I like that statement. Nynaeve thinks of spiders. Oh, you sweet summer child.
You sweet summer child.
Nynaeve's like, cool. So all I have to do is walk in and out of each one, no problem. Then I'm done. Sheriam is like, girl, you have no idea what you're talking about or up against. If it's so easy and thought to you, maybe I can just write your name in the novice book instead. Nynaeve's like, no. So Sheriam says she'll tell Nynaeve the things that every novice is kept from knowing until they enter this room. Nynaeve has to see the test through to the end. If she gives up halfway through, they'll put her out of the tower with enough silver to support her for a year, and she can never come back. The second thing is that some novices had been known to enter an arch, and they've never come back out.
Woof.
Once the real scary hours. Once the terengrial was allowed to grow cold, the novices simply weren't there and were never seen from again. Sheriam gives Nynaeve a choice at this point, saying that if Nynaeve stops before the test begins, Sheriam will write her name in the novice book and will only have 1 mark against her. Twice more, Nynaeve is allowed. Twice more, Nynaeve is allowed. I'm alert to. Twice more, Nynaeve's allowed to return here, and if Nynaeve declines to begin the test twice more, she's put out of the tower. Sheriam admits that her first time here, the mistress of novices herself, she could not do it until her second try. Nynaeve thinks about her revenge on Moraine, and this being a step down that path, and says she can't say no or give up, so she goes on. There is a lot of ceremony at this point, with Nynaeve approaching the table with the chalices, and the sister behind it asking who comes before her. Who is this that Sheriam has brought? And there's a lot of ritualistic responding from Sheriam. Nynaeve at this point has to disrobe, and she tucks Lan's ring carefully beneath the dress so the others can't see. Then Sheriam says the words to her. The first time is for what was. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. Nynaeve steps through the arch and appears elsewhere, between two stone walls. The sky is flat and the ground is dusty. She's in a gigantic maze. She thinks, where am I? But a different voice comes to her head and says, the way out will come but once. Nynaeve's thoughts seem vague, and she starts out trailing her hand across a wall. She starts getting lost in the maze, wondering aloud how she got there, and the voice intones in her head again, the way out will come but once. She catches movement out of the corner of her eye and goes for it, thinking that few boys had been able to outrun her as a girl in the two rivers. Then she thinks, the two rivers, what is that? A man steps out from an opening ahead of her. He is older than old, skin like parchment, and has a scabby scalp, eyes peering out of sunken caves. He says his name is Agenor and he's come for her. She realizes one of the Forsaken, and he says he will enjoy her. She is pretty. Nynaeve remembers that she's naked and starts running, obviously. She cries, saying, burn him, he has no right. And then she feels a flowering and opening up inside of her from her anger. She turns at that last moment, teeth bared, to face her pursuer and screams he has no right. She thinks she's going to punch him, but is surprised to see little flames come up from her hand as she throws them in his face. And he is like, you dare? Spittle coming down from his chin after he gets knocked down. A bolt of lightning comes from the dead sky toward her. Time seems to slow, and at the last moment, Nynaeve thinks this must be Saidar, and the bolt of lightning alters its path and streaks toward Agenor. Nynaeve gets up and advances on the Forsaken, at which point he wails and he runs away from her. As he runs and she pursues, he keeps flinging magic back at her. First, a wall of wind, which she knocks to the side with Saidar, and she keeps continuing the lightning streaks toward him. As they run, something glimmers off to her right-hand side. Agenor's assaults weaken, and he fumbles as he runs. She knows if she stops her assault and runs away, he will gain power again and chase back after her, so she has to keep up the offensive. A silver arch stands suddenly where the stone had been, is filled with silver radiance. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. She looks back at Agenor disappearing around a bend. If she can find Agenor quickly, maybe she can kill the Forsaken and then come back to the arch. Be steadfast. With a cry of frustration, she steps through the silver arch, leaving Agenor behind, and from one ward to the next, steps out of it, still muttering. She's back inside the tower, and the sister behind the table with the chalices raises one of them high, and Nynaeve stands under it as she pours water from it over her head, very baptismal. The sister says Nynaeve is washed clean of what sin she may have done and of those done against her. She's come to them washed pure in heart and soul. Nynaeve asks if what she saw was real to Sheriam. Sheriam responds that no one knows, and some have come back bearing wounds on them of what was done to them inside. It's different for every woman that goes in. Perhaps this ter'angreal takes you to a different world with very different rules. Sheriam herself doesn't believe what's in there is real, but whether it is or not, the danger is. Nynaeve says she channeled the power and it was so easy. Sheriam misses a step and says that's not supposed to be possible. Nynaeve should be able to even remember being able to channel. Sheriam says that the first sister to use the ter'angreal during the Trolloc Wars was warded as strongly as she possibly could be. The sister channeled inside when she was threatened, and she came out burned out, unable to touch the true source, and she couldn't even sense the true source. The second sister to go in was destroyed in the same way. The third went inside the ter'angreal unprotected, and she came out fine. That is why they have novices go in unprotected. Nynaeve must not channel in there again. It's hard to remember what to do in there, Sheriam knows, but Nynaeve must try. Nynaeve goes into the second arch, and you guessed it, the second time is for what is. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. Nynaeve found herself in a stout woolen dress, and she smiles. She's at the Wine Spring Inn, back at Emmonsfield, in the village green. But when she sees the inn, it looks neglected. The whitewash is faded, a shutter hangs loose. The roof has a gap in it. Senbui comes out of the inn, surprised to see her. Ha, Senbui, you never thought you'd hear him again.
That
Hey.
fucking guy.
But then he says, Nynaeve might as well be off if she's decided to come back. He spits at her feet and walks off. Now, Senbui's been cantankerous, but not openly disrespectful to Nynaeve before. The innkeeper's wife, Marin Alvir, jumps at Nynaeve being back when Nynaeve enters the inn. Marin asks after her daughter, Egwene, and is desperate to see if Nynaeve has brought Egwene back with her. The way back will come but once. Marin Alvir is sad at not being able to see her daughter and that Egwene has not come back along with Nynaeve, and is also sad that Bran, the innkeeper himself, her husband, has died. She says that Senbui is now mayor, with Bran Alvir dead. Now that Nynaeve has left Emond's Field, the wisdom they have with them is now a woman named Malena from the next town over.
Can I just interrupt you really quickly? Senbui is the fucking mayor. Is that the just most buck wild thing?
Senbui is the mayor.
That fucking guy.
Fucking
anyway,
guy.
This fucking guy. Anyway, continue.
So the wisdom they have there now that Nynaeve's gone is a woman named Malena from the next town over, Watch Hill. Marin seemed afraid of this new wisdom. She says that this Malena came down at the same time children and sheep started dying. And Malena was the only one that could cure the sickness that the children and the sheep all of a sudden started suffering from when she arrived. So Malena stayed on and browbeated everyone to make her the wisdom. Nynaeve said that the blacksmith's wife, Elsbeth Luhan, was a big woman and sturdy, and she should never have been browbeaten. Mistress Alvere responded with, well, Elsbeth tried to stand up to this Malena woman, and the new wisdom just took a stick to Elsbeth publicly all over the green. When Bran and Master Luhan, Elsbeth's husband, spoke against the mistreatment of Elsbeth, interfering with women's business, Bran and Master Luhan both got mysteriously sick and died the next day. Now no one will mess with Malena. Mistress Alvera says she has 4 living daughters under the inn's roof. Now that Egwene has gone, living daughters, mind. She wants to keep it that way and will not say anything against Marina. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. Nynaeve is pleading for Mistress Alvere to gather the rest of the women's circle to stand up to this woman if she's poisoning people. Nynaeve said she's poisoning children. That cannot abide. The way back will... No! These are my people! Nynaeve cuts off the voice inside her head. Nynaeve says she'll go with Mistress Alvere to the other women's houses. They need to get a council together to overthrow this new wisdom. Now. They go to leave the inn, and Nynaeve sees a scrawny, bony old woman coming toward them, carrying a willow switch. That must be Malena. Senbui must have went and let her know that he saw Nynaeve had come back to Emond's Field. Something gleamed over Nynaeve's shoulder, a silver arch with a white glow. The way will come but once. Be steadfast. Mistress Alvere is screaming that Malena has seen them. They have to run. Mistress Alvere is terrified, saying Malena has seen her with Nynaeve. She'll surely be punished just by being seen talking with Nynaeve. Everyone knows that this new wisdom hates the old one. With a sob, Nynaeve tears her arm out of Mistress Alvere's grasp, stepping through the arch with Mistress Alvere shrieking, Nynaeve, help me! Nynaeve staggers back into the dome under the tower, not even noticing the second chalice of water being upended over her head. You are washed clean of false pride. You are washed clean of false ambition. You come to us washed clean, heart and soul. Nynaeve is gripping Sheriam's arm, begging to be told it wasn't real. Sheriam says the second arch is worse than the first, and the third one is worst of all. She says that Terangriel weaves traps for people from their own minds, and that's why the Aes Sedai use it as a test. The novices that go through have to want to be Aes Sedai more than anything else. The White Tower will not accept anything less. It's demanded of them. Now you see why so few accepted are actually fully raised to Aes Sedai. They head back to the arches. Sheriam says, the third time is for what will be. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. Nynaeve throws herself into the third arch at a dead run. The sound of
She's such
hooves.
a fucking queen. God damn it.
She is. That's bravery.
Like, she's like, fuck it. Let's just do this.
Do
Fuck
it.
it.
Let's go.
Fucking goals.
The sound of hooves makes her turn. Alan Mandragoran, king of Malkier, jumps off of his horse and strolls to her, laughing amid a field of butterflies. He gathers her into his arms and kisses her, her feet dangling a foot in the air, and she loses herself in it, not caring. She pushes him away then, saying no. She can face anything but this. Could she just have another Agenor again? Then her mind thinks, Agenor? Who's that? Her memories are slipping and lurching. He asks her, are you well, my love? And she says, don't call me that. I can't marry you. And then he laughs. He says them not being married may upset their children. She starts freaking out, wanting to go back. He says, where, Emmonsfield? I'll send letters to Queen Morghese and get an escort for you. Why, the Queen of Malkieri demands an escort, and she and Queen Morghese are friends. Besides, he explains to her their past as if she's not well. She was crowned queen in the Seven Towers the day they exchanged rings. It was the Malkieri way, after all, and they're borderlanders, not some southern kingdom. Nynaeve sees the ring on her hand. They have 3 children. Merrick cannot decide if he likes horses or books better. Elnor is a beauty, and she pesters Sharina about wanting to go to the White Tower. Nynaeve says, Elnor was my mother's name. Lan replies, so you said when you chose it. Then, in the trees beyond the meadow, a meadow in Malkier, guys. The blight is gone.
If you will remember, that shit was fucked.
Fucked. The silver arch appears. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. To her horror, she has dim memories of him being her husband through the years, but they start to grow firmer. Lan is softly telling her to stay. She sees the 7 towers over the 1,000 lakes in the distance beyond the meadow. The silver arch is gone. She thinks about staying, but then opens herself up to the source, that white bud on a blackthorn bush. She distantly remembers Sheriam Sadai telling her not to embrace the source, but she does so anyway, and Lan is telling her he loves her in the background. She remembers the arch, focuses on Saidar, and the radiance bursts within her as she feels every last detail of the arch in her mind. It appears again, and she runs toward the silver curve, not looking back. She comes out crying, sobbing through the last arch. She kneels, gulping air. I hate you. I hate all Aes Sedai. Sheriam sighs, saying most say the same thing coming through the last arch, but then says, what's this? Driven through the center of each palm was the thorn of a blackthorn bush. That's stigmata right there.
Fucking stigmata.
It is, right? The thorns, and they come on. Thorns in the palm.
Yep.
She takes out the thorns and heals Nynaeve, and then says that Nynaeve must take what she paid for. Nynaeve looks around and sees that the room is filled with more Aes Sedai. The Amerlin herself and her striped stole was there, with a shawled sister from each Aja next to her. Nynaeve totters over to accept the last chalice being poured on her head. You are washed clean of Nynaeve Almira from Ebonsfield. You are washed clean of all the ties that bind you to the world. You come to us washed clean in heart and soul. You are Nynaeve Almira, accepted of the White Tower. The Amerlin herself helps Nynaeve to her feet. You are sealed to us now. Thus endeth my synopsis of the testing.
That is such a good fucking chapter.
That's fantasy right there.
Like,
that's
that
fantasy.
Is good shit.
That's some good fantasy right there.
Like,
there you go. That's a fantasy within the fantasy book.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 different fantasies happening within the fantasy book.
What I love about this is it shows just how badass Nynaeve actually is. Because let's stop for just a moment. Okay, yes, she fought a Forsaken the first time.
She fought a Forsaken.
She had to deal with shit happening in her hometown the second time.
She's the youngest wisdom ever in her hometown. She fought a fucking Forsaken. She threw the Amerlin against the fucking boat wall with air.
She did.
and said, fuck off to the Amerlin seat of the White Tower.
And then
knowing she would be there looking at the Amerlin's face being like working. It's like they're on a boat together. Like, where the fuck? Like,
yeah.
She has no run away afterwards.
0 fucks left to give. And so then she goes through these trials and they're very difficult.
Very difficult.
And then she gets her last one and it's the hardest possible thing.
Bro.
And she misses the door. She misses it. It goes. It's gone.
Away.
It's gone. Fucking gone. She's stuck there. Except that she channels, which she's not supposed to be able to do without burning herself out. And she makes a new fucking door. She makes a door.
Yeah.
By rights, she should have been stuck there.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't seem like such a bad place to be stuck. But it's probably not real. Or it's an alternate universe. Anyway. So instead of just being like, okay, well, I'm stuck here. No. She channels and she makes a new one.
She creates her own reality, literally.
Like,
this woman literally created her own reality.
What the fuck? Because you have to assume that if there are Aes Sedai who are, novices or accepted who went in, there have to be ones who didn't come back. And of those ones, there have to be ones who missed the door. They didn't not come back because they were killed or something. They were alive, but they missed the door. They waited too long or whatever. And so then you have to think that at least some of them, if not all of them, tried to channel to make a new door. They tried to do that and they couldn't.
Nope.
You have to think that somebody, at least a couple other people tried it and they didn't do it and Nynaeve did it. This bitch.
It looks like the pattern still had plans for her. Or what do you think?
I mean, I think the pattern obviously had plans for her, but I mean, there's no way that we can know for sure that the pattern has any kind of influence in these alternate universes inside this ter'angreal.
True.
We don't know that that's true.
She used the secret and she willed it to happen.
And
she used some fucking witch magic. Like, I'm going to will this into existence, literally.
She did.
And she got the stigmata.
Almost by sheer force of will, she did this. And then she comes out with the stigmata.
I love it. I hate all Aes Sedai, man. She really fucking hates Aes Sedai. It's like,
yeah,
I want to be part of you, but I'm not one of you.
And then Sheriam's like, everybody says that.
Yeah.
So you think that she's like saying something really like subversive and terrible, and then Sheriam's like, no, literally every person who's come through here has said something like that, because it sucks.
Here's the thing, it makes you really look at Aes Sedai in a new light, doesn't it? They all have to be badasses and go through that just to be accepted.
I mean, just to get from novice to accepted, this is what you have to do.
Yeah, they're not even Aes Sedai yet. This is just your accepted titch.
Yeah, this is just
buckle up,
basically to go
bitch.
from being
you
a
gotta
freshman
go through
to a
another
sophomore.
One. Yeah,
like
before you're even Aes Sedai.
Yeah,
and you gotta live hundreds of years before you get any respect.
Yeah, this is just to get to the next level.
Yeah,
this is what you have to do, and that's some shit.
That is some shit.
That's some real shit. So I think we have an appreciation for Nynaeve as a complete and total badass. And I think that we have appreciation for Nynaeve as a stubborn ass bitch, which I appreciate.
I do.
And I think we have an appreciation.
She's a Taurus. Because Taurus are what? Stubborn and home and hearth is all that matters to them. And that's all Nynaeve is.
That's 100. That's Nynaeve all over.
All over.
Our Taurus bitch. And I feel like we have kind of gotten a new appreciation for the Aes Sedai. This is not a walk in the park. You just don't get to walk around throwing magic all over the place. In order to have this title and the freedom to use this power, you have got to do some shit.
You got to climb a lot of dicks.
You gotta climb so many dicks.
So many. It's a dick mountain, literally.
A
It's next
literal
to
dick
Dick
mountain.
Mountain.
Yeah. Next to Dick Mountain, you have to climb the Dick Mountain
You have
in order to be this.
a mountain
Oh,
of
he's
dicks.
scratching at the door.
I hear.
Yeah. You can keep talking. I got my headphones on.
It is a veritable mountain of dicks. That's the new thing, like a flock of geese or a school of fish. When you get a lot of dude bros around at the bar, they're called a mountain of dicks.
It's a mountain of dicks. Yeah, I
so
like
let
that.
it be written.
So let it be done.
I love them. Let my people go. The kids don't know anything about that.
Ah, fuck.
Come
That's such
on.
a good movie.
That's a really good movie. I love that movie. It's a timeless classic.
Timeless classic.
So what do we do?
Honestly, problematic as hell, but let's not worry about that.
Very problematic. Very problematic, but you know.
Everything from then was problematic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Including our parents.
I mean, and our grandparents. It gets worse the further back you go.
There you go. You want to do the White Tower stands and then next time in the White Tower and then
yeah, I super want to do that. I'm just pouring this huge glass of whiskey right now. Oh no, that's much more whiskey than I thought.
Not enough.
I may have made a mistake.
No, you didn't. You just gotta drink it all now.
Don't
let it go to waste.
Okay.
Next time on the White Tower Podcast.
It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all.
I like it.
Like kind of genocide, maybe? And we're getting the band back together.
Love that reference. Blues Brothers, baby.
We're on a mission from God.
We're on a mission from God. Sweet home, Chicago. All right. I love it. My next time on the White Tower, it's stupid. This week, whatever. An old friend reappears. And this is going to be probably the most interesting part. A clue into a romance. Oh. We got to talk about what we may or may not have missed the first time reading these books.
Oh, really?
Possible. I don't know. We got to debate about it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my next time in the
White Tower. I love it. I love it. That's very good. It's very evocative.
Oh, yes.
I like it very much.
That's my little name.
So let's talk about my ride or die character of the week.
Let's do it.
My ride or die character of the week is Lan.
Of course.
For sure.
We stand Lan. You can't spell stand without Lan. Yes, you can. But anyway.
No, you can't. Because we said so. Fuck off.
Yeah.
He is my ride or die character of the week because he deadass gives Moraine a piece of his mind.
He's Jen's ride.
Also my ride. And I'll take sloppy seconds. I'm not that fussy.
I'm not that fussy either.
We could double team him. That'd be fun.
I don't care. Eskimo sisters.
And then still saves her sketchy ass from the Drakkar. So yes. Lan's getting it done.
Lan's doing things.
Lan is doing things.
Mine's a little bit. It's like a couple sentences, but I go into the White Tower. My Jen's ride or die character on the White Tower stands segment is Sheriam. Sheriam's die. Okay, let's go into this. This is a truth bomb. I wasn't ready for this until I just realized this when I wrote this. She's showing compassion to a woman she really just met. Nynaeve is not a novice. She's never been a novice. So Sheriam, as mistress of novices, is doing this test for the first time ever to a woman she has not known and looked over for X amount of years.
That's a really good point.
This has to be a first for Sheriam, or probably any mistress of novices ever, to lead a complete stranger to the accepted test instead of someone she knows. Also, she shows a lot of compassion to Nynaeve, whom she doesn't have a bond. She didn't have to give the extra knowledge to her that she did. And she admitted to her when she didn't have to that Sheriam could not pass the test her first time when she tried. So I know Nynaeve had to take the test. However badass she was in it, you all know how much I love Nynaeve. Sheriam didn't have to do those things for her and feel the compassion and go the extra mile to be a mistress of novices to someone who has never been a novice. So she's not really under her safekeeping.
You know what? That's a really good point, and I honestly hadn't really considered it. But
Neither had
I think Nynaeve, at that point, they had been in the tower, I think, for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not enough time to really form a bond with somebody or get to know somebody, especially because, she's got other people that she needs to look after.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good point. Sheriam really did kind of
fulfill her duty to
I mean, and I feel like it wasn't just her duty. Like, I feel like Sheriam legitimately has this kind of nurturing personality to really kind of help and encourage her.
I agree.
Oh, overall, so far, the Aes Sedai that we have met have been quite cold.
Right.
We've met several of them, and they've all been quite cold. Sheriam isn't.
Right.
And from the beginning, she wasn't. When she met them down by the docks, even then she wasn't. She was gregarious. She was friendly. She answered questions and was just generally very welcoming and warm. She may be Aes Sedai, she may be mistress of novices, and she may beat your ass if you need it, but she'll also give you a tissue afterward and, talk to you very kindly about the lessons that you learned. Like, she's genuinely someone who cares about the people around her. So, yeah, I love that, Stan. We stand.
We stand that.
Nynaeve
did what she had to do and she went over and above, but Sheriam went out of her way. So I gotta stand that a little bit harder.
Well, and you have to think that Nynaeve kicked ass, but
she did.
Surely there are other women who got through the test to become accepted on the first try. And here's the thing. And actually, I listened to a really interesting TEDx talk about this where there is no harder. There's just hard.
Yeah.
Your hard isn't any harder than anybody else's hard. Like, everybody's going through shit. So when you're looking at it from the perspective of the test, you don't know what other women have seen in there.
Right.
But you know that they've seen some shit, and you know that they have seen the absolute worst, most difficult situations for them. And maybe that wouldn't be a difficult situation for you, but it was a difficult situation for them. And so, you have to consider that in the long run, outside of channeling the way that she did and making herself a door, which was a whole other thing, ultimately, she did what any other woman who passed on the first try has done.
That's
why Sheriam is really showing that
she's showing up. She's showing out.
Yeah, she's really kind of showing that warmth and compassion. So
and
I love that.
Don't channel in here. This is what happened. This is the history of this. This is blah blah. Like she's not even like her even being in that room technically wasn't necessary. I understand it's she had to answer who comes here and she has to make those ritualistic statements of introducing.
I mean, anybody could do that.
But it could be anybody. I guess as mistresses and novices, because people that are brought there are usually novices. And so it should be their caretaker that does that for them. But she is just like, yeah, I'm gonna sponsor you essentially in this situation. And she did it with like with gravitas. So I respect Sheriam for that when she did.
Yeah, absolutely. And she really did. I mean, you're really right. She showed a lot of compassion, particularly saying a lot of people don't make it on the first try. I didn't make it on the first try. Like giving her an out and saying, if you want to stop now, that's okay. There is no shame in that. Like making sure that Nynaeve understands that she doesn't have to do it now. She doesn't have to finish it now. but also making sure that she understands what the
The dangers are.
consequences would be. Although I do think that once the test has started, isn't it, if once she starts the test, if she doesn't finish it, she's put out?
Right.
So once she started it, she has to finish. But
She has to.
before that,
yeah, even
make
then,
sure
Sheriam
she
was
knew that,
kind with her during the test when she
like,
started.
you can walk away right now and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I like that.
Yeah, Sheriam, love it.
Y'all know how much I love Nynaeve in that chapter. I'm like, at the end of the day, Sheriam is doing more of her job than Nynaeve is. So I'm going to have to say that. As hard as Nynaeve, like you said, hard as Nynaeve's job was in that room. Nynaeve is the most important person, but yeah. So, yeah, I think that's an amazing 2 chapters.
Well, given the fact that we've gone an hour and a half easy on this, and there has been we did 16 minutes of bullshit, and the rest of it has been dead ass Wheel of Time. So we're going hard tonight.
We are batting 1,000.
Batting 1,000. We're batting 1,000,000. I don't know about
clearing
baseball.
the fences. Yeah.
You know what? We didn't do weather bullshit earlier. Please tell me about your weather. I am dying to know.
I get so frustrated because when I try to go for a jog in the evenings, it's always raining like between 6 and 8 p.m.
That's so weird.
And no other time. And now it's getting into like real Florida hot hours where it's just like every single second is unbearable. Like getting out from my car to go take my dog for a walk on lunch breaks and then coming back, because that's what I do on my lunch breaks, is take my dog out. Is just, it's pouring on the back of my neck, friend, and it's because it's July and it's gross. And
that whole scheduled rain thing is so buck wild to me.
It's I don't know why that is the way that it is, but that's how it is.
It seems like that's something that happens in a lot of places close to the equator, where it rains from this time to this time, and then it's fine.
Yeah,
it's just buck wild.
I hate it. The other thing is because we are in hurricane season. It just officially started a couple weeks ago.
Yay!
We are watching a disturbance off the coast of Cuba right now that is slated to maybe become a tropical storm, which is but yeah, we're always keeping an eye out, especially off the west coast of Africa, because that's where hurricanes come from. That's where
I don't get people who live in places where hurricanes are. But then I know people who live in hurricane areas who don't understand why I live in places where tornadoes are. So
I don't understand how people drive in fucking black ice and live in snow and can't leave their house.
You totally can leave your house. You just have to shovel first.
Oh, fuck you.
Fuck off.
I'm gonna piss in the snow and hopefully it'll melt. That's all I
mean, it will melt. Your piss is warmer than snow, so yeah.
Yeah, just piss
here, we had a genuine, bona fide heat wave.
Oh.
It was
dazzling.
With the heat index, it was somewhere in the area of like 107 to 110 degrees.
It's way hotter than it is around here. Good job.
And the dew point was in the high 70s.
Yeah, that's normal for us.
Which is, it's not normal here, and it fucking sucks. It's breathing through a wet blanket. And it's just terrible. So yeah, the past week has been awful. But it looks like things are starting to chill out a little bit. Right now, we are looking at, let me pull up my weather app.
I love our weather app.
Oh, it's 67 degrees with a dew point of 61. That's beautiful. We should open the windows tonight. But yeah, we're back into like normal weather. It was like a high of 80 today. That's a little bit more sort of reasonable.
I will tell you what the temperature is outside right now.
Please tell me.
Please hold. 80 degrees right now. The high today was 92. Feels like 85. Dew point is 74 degrees. Humidity is at 82%.
Ugh.
That's in the evening, folks. It's not even as nighttime. It's not even daytime. It's gonna get worse.
Yeah, hard pass on all of that. That sucks. Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry about how your state sucks.
Now our lives, you just get used to it. The thing I've noticed about like me as a Floridian is what fucks me up is going in and out of buildings with air conditioning. If I'm in there for like, say, like 30 to 45 minutes where I'm hot and then I go in there and I'm okay because I start cooling, but then I get really chilled and I have to go outside even though I'm enjoying the air conditioning. I intentionally have to make myself hot, or sometimes it feels good getting back into a hot car if I've been too chilled with the air conditioning before.
I can see that.
I hate that.
We have routinely been keeping our thermostat at 67 degrees because we like to live in an ice box. And also it's been hot as fuck. But they're especially downstairs, and I've talked about this before where it's warmer upstairs than it is in downstairs. And we have the air conditioning, like the heat and AC register is right behind our couch. So where I'm sitting during the day, the AC is like kind of almost blowing on me. So it gets pretty chilly. So I'm like wearing a hoodie and leggings and house shoes, and it's 107 degrees outside. But there were a couple of days, I've been working at home a lot the last like month or so, month and a half. And I would get up like in the middle of the day to let the dogs out, and I would be kind of chilled, and I would go outside where it's butt ass hot and just be like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Or say, that's
like flying out a little bit.
How it is, and then having to go back in and out and in and out. Like that's to regulate your internal body core temperature. From like the 40 or fucking, depending on how hot it is, like a 45 degree swing in temperatures. Because you go inside in a building and it's like 60 some odd degrees, and you go outside, it's 100 some odd degrees. Yeah, you gotta fucking regulate. So that's the only thing.
Like, I get really sleepy when I get cold.
I do too.
It makes me want to take a nap. It makes me want to wrap up in a blanket and go to sleep.
Speaking of sleep, it's about and wrapping up.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. It is almost 11 o'clock. It's almost midnight your time. So apologies.
No, it's not anyone's fault. It's Nynaeve's fault for being such a badass.
Yeah, fuck you, Nynaeve. Yeah, and also for my chapter for being so fucking lit that we talked about it for an hour.
Your chapter was actually more to talk about because more shit happened, and it was amazing. So I love your chapter. Yeah,
my chapter was really good.
Really good, actually.
So,
very divisive.
Right? I am really excited to hear what people have to say about it. But if you are not already following us on social media, you can do so at White Tower Pod. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you want to email us, if you have, something to say, or if you have a question or something, you can email us whitetowerpod@gmail.com. Our website is whitetowerpodcast.com. If you like what we're doing and you think we're cool and you have a little extra cash, maybe consider throwing a little bit of that extra cash at us on Patreon. bit.ly/White Tower Patreon. I decided to start using a different link because we can actually track clicks on that one. That's bit.ly/White Tower Patreon. We have a lot of really great bonus content, and when you contribute to our Patreon, you help us to make the show better, just in general, and help us get to cons and stuff like that. So, maybe think about doing that. If you don't have any extra cash to throw around, that's really cool. Everybody's been there. And the other thing you can really do to help us out is to rate, review, and subscribe to us on whatever podcast app you're using. If you can do Apple Podcasts, I think it's Apple Podcasts now, not iTunes. If you can do Apple Podcasts, that's great. If you can't, check the app that you're using to see if you can rate and review there. If you can't do it on your app, then head over to Facebook and recommend us there. That is also really, really helpful. When folks rate, review, and subscribe, it sort of moves us up the ladder of podcasts and helps us to find more listeners. And that's really important. So if you can do that, that would be great. Anything else that we need to worry about today?
We're almost at 2,000 Twitter.
Yeah, we're pushing 2,000 Twitter followers, and we are well past 40,000 unique downloads since we started, which is just buck wild to me. So amazing. The Discord continues. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. Our Discord is lit. It is fucking popping off. We have a really great group of fun, friendly, inclusive people there. So if you are not an asshole and you want to come hang out with us, you can hit us up at bit.ly/White Tower Discord. It's a lot of fun. We've got some really great people there. So please do consider it.
Quite a few new followers. We got a recent spurt of new followers, like within the past couple weeks. Like we're like, whoa! Like we'll get daily quite a few now, and not.
We've had a few new folks jumping in, which is really fun.
Nice.
It's really fun to be able to connect with people there, and everybody just chats about stuff. And like, I'll jump in sometimes, and Jen will jump in sometimes, but it's really the community.
Jess will jump in, and Jen has one Discord rant in there.
You're like a blessing monsoon rain.
I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, I want to attack the Discord.
You'll do like a fucking furious dump of posts in all kinds of different channels, and it's delightful. Yeah. But, and Jen and I have talked about this before too, whereas I have a job where I sit at a desk and I'm at a computer all day and can, as long as my work is getting done, do whatever. It's possible for me throughout the day to check on the Discord and talk to people, whereas Jen has a job where she's out on the floor and she's working and she doesn't have access to a phone or a computer. So it's more difficult for her to be able to do that. So like completely understandable. So, Jen gives us her blessings.
I've seen every single post in there that has ever been made.
Bitch be creeping.
I lurk in there. I'm like, okay, so I'm in there. I try to go look in there once in the morning and once at night.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I skip a day, I always do it. Like if I just so happen to, I always do it the next day. So, and I start back from new messages. Like if there's been over 50 plus, I will go back and I've seen everything that y'all talk about. So
yeah. And she rains her blessings of awesomeness down upon us in birth. And it's beautiful. And it's great. And I love it.
Jess is the best community manager, y'all. I see why you do well at your job. So
thank you, sweetie.
You do a very good job at that.
Very
anyway.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we have a welcome channel. So when somebody joins the Discord, like a bot puts that a new person has joined. Mm-hmm. And I started out going and welcoming each person.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody else started going and welcoming them. I don't even have to do it anymore.
Yeah,
everybody else jumps in and welcomes them. It's like, honestly, this is a community manager's wet dream.
Yeah.
Like, this is what you want. And it just makes me so happy that we have this welcoming, happy group of people. So
wasn't it today that someone was asking about the different channels? And before you could do anything, like 3 different people jumped in and said, okay, you need to go to this. You need to, if you want to talk about this topic, you need to be talking about it in this channel. And these are the ones you need to look for.
Yeah.
And they were describing how to use Discord.
Yeah, they were making recommendations. This new person was indicating this new person was indicating that they were a little bit overwhelmed because we have a number of different channels. Because the thing is that we have a group of people who enjoy spending time together. So they want to talk about more stuff than just Wheel of Time. So I'm trying not to get too wild with channels, but we've added some for specific topics of discussion. And so, a new person
Jen's
comes in.
Personal channel, the Final Fantasy channel.
There's a couple other people in there with you. And so this person was feeling a little bit overwhelmed because we have, several channels, and folks were jumping in and making recommendations. Like, if you just want Wheel of Time chat, here are the ones to look at, and make sure that you check out this one. And, it's really cool, and it makes me very happy. So we have a really good group of people there. So please do. I think we gush about the Discord every week, and I'm not even sorry about it.
I'm not sorry about it. I will say that I know you have the statistics, but I think the Watt chat, the Wheel of Time specific, it probably gets the most action.
That has definitely been popping off recently. I actually haven't looked at
Even more than Jen.
data.
The Jen is like, you know, there's going to be like 7 things or whatever, and then you go to Watt chat. Holy smokes!
You want to know, we actually just in the last couple of days, we do have a channel specifically for mental health. You know, for myself, it's important because I am myself mentally ill. And, you know, a lot of people are. And it's a safe place for people to go and talk about, you know, the shit that they have going on. If it's symptoms, if it's just I'm feeling shitty because of this thing. I'm having a hard time because I have this mother-in-law who is triggering such and such a thing. You know, it's a safe place for people to go and talk about. And that's actually been popping off the last couple of days too. So I should check it out and see what kind of numbers we're looking at there. It's interesting to see where people are spending their time. So, yeah, it's like, it really seems like in the last month, it's really started growing a lot and gotten a lot busier. You know, I will go in and I will go to check on it and I'll see there are like 7 channels that have new posts in them. And I'm like, wow, cool.
It is really cool. And we're building on it. There's a video games channel, and there's even a sports ball channel that we have in there, which the last thing you think you would have is a sports ball channel. But it's for you guys. This is your space that you share with us. Yes, Jess is, and I, well, Jess is a community manager, and then I do my monsoons. But
you're a community monsoon.
Oh God, wait for the downpour. Everybody take cover.
Hurricane Jen has made landfall.
She knows about it. So other than that, though, like, it really is y'all's space. This is a space for the people that listen to us to talk about whatever they want to talk about. So that's really kind of cool.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that it's a friendly, welcoming, safe kind of place. So, you know, I'm kidding a little bit when I say if you're not an asshole, but I honestly mean it. You know, if you're the kind of person who has an issue with having a place where certain people feel comfortable and safe talking about certain things, our Discord is probably not the place for you. And that's okay. I mean, there are lots of other Wheel of Time Discords you can hang out in, and that's fine. But I know for myself, I will protect our Discord members fiercely.
Yeah.
For sure.
As you do.
Yeah. Because it's important to me that people feel comfortable. So,
agreed.
But yeah, it's a great place to hang out. So definitely come check it out. Hang out with us. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's like 10 minutes talking about Discord. Is there anything else that we want to talk about right now? Announcements, anything like that?
Not right now.
Okay, cool. So, what?
That's it.
Oh, I thought you took a breath in like you were going to say something. I'm like,
I did. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot who says this part. That's right, you say it.
Because we've only done this like 34 times.
What?
39, 38, I don't fucking know.
It's time for us to retire.
It is time for us to retire. Goodbye forever, everyone. It's been fun.
Goodbye forever.
Thank you all very much for listening. That's all we have for you tonight. I did it wrong again. God damn it. Fuck.
No, just go on.
I'm going to try it again.
You're going to go on that vibe.
That's all we have for you tonight. We thank you all very much for listening. On behalf of all of us here at the White Tower, we love you very much. And you're doing a great job.
Love you, Jess.
Love you, Jen.
Bye.
Bye.